Robinhood might be kicking off Onchain's summer with a bunch of announcements that they just dropped at their To Catch a Token event in Cannes, France. Is it Cannes? Is it Cannes? More on that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents, the weekly podcast about crypto and blockchain from people actually working in crypto and blockchain. Think of us like Margot Bartendale, noted character actress. Every time we show up, we're doing something completely different, but it's brilliant regardless. I'm your host, Vince, and today I'm joined by our resident degen, Kale from the Encrypt team,
Hello.
and Katya from the Mu team.
Hi, Vince. I think
Hi.
it's con.
Well, see, I knew, like I said, more on that in a second, and there it was.
I
I may
pronounced
look.
it I pronounced it canis in front of my mother-in-law, and she looked at me like I was mentally challenged, so I picked it up
Cane?
pretty quickly.
Cane?
Huh,
Maybe it's
I don't know.
cane.
I'm an American, so I'm going to say it the American way. Not to begrudge the French.
Yeah,
Bonjour.
don't
But
judge me.
we'll talk about all the happenings going on in France in a bit, but let's start by talking about Krak. Uh, so Krak is the new payment app that Kraken, the exchange, just rolled out. It's kind of like a crypto competitor to PayPal, and I know we've all been messing around with it, and it's fun and interesting. I have some like problems with it because like I don't necessarily understand how things are working under the hood.
Vince
Um,
has a crack problem.
I have a crack problem.
Oh
You
no.
know, so I've been putting some ETH in it, and then I've been swapping that out for the new stablecoin du jour, which is the OSDG.
US.
Although USDG, all these letters just kind of blend together and don't mean anything to me.
For real.
But I don't understand like how I manage my different coins. I don't understand like if they're doing some sort of KYC associated with Kraken. I don't understand how I'm just able to send stuff fee free because I've been sending coins every day to Kale because you get like random meme tokens every time you use the app every day. Um, but yeah, I have a lot of questions, with the main one being who is this for? I feel like this is a product that they rolled out for the sake of trying to make a splash, and I don't understand who this product is for. But that's just kind of my opinion. Talk to me about it, guys.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from as far as like who is this for?
Mhm.
You know, but also like this is why I love Kraken, dude, straight up. Like the whole crack branding, like the meme branding that like stays close to home of like their main Kraken thing. Um, I just love it. 11 out of 10. um, but like personally, I like am not even a huge fan of like the payment apps like Venmo and Cash App or whatever.
Mhm.
I feel like there's too many of them on the market. It's like, why do we need so many? So yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment. Feels like we didn't really need crack. Why did Kraken do this? I don't know. It seems like if anything, maybe they're trying to like siphon users from like the whole Venmo crowd, but like specifically crypto native people who use those types of apps. I don't know outside of that, but yeah, it's cool. I might start using it just because I'm a Kraken fan. You know, I don't,
But I mean, at the same time, who are you going to send crack to besides me? Katya
I
didn't even
mean,
download it.
yeah, no, good question. Whenever someone asks me for Cash App now, I'm just gonna be like, nah,
I use
download crack.
Kraken, so you have to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
this other app, put fiat in, convert
Oh,
it to
ambassador
crypto.
application.
get
It's
some
right
Wow.
crack.
here.
To me, it just
Yep,
kind of feels like a weird interim app between like a true self custody wallet and then PayPal. But at the same time, PayPal has crypto, Venmo has crypto.
yeah.
So I don't know. I'm perplexed across the board. Katya,
Plus,
what are
like,
your thoughts?
sorry, go,
Were you
Katya.
gonna say something, Kale?
No, no, no. I was just gonna say that they have Inkchain too, and the card coming out. So I'm sure like it'll all come together eventually.
Maybe.
Um, Vince, you touched on something that I was actually gonna say, which is I just generally I think I've lived it for a long time in the dichotomy of the self-custody wallet and the centralized exchange or like a centralized payments app like Venmo, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, I also get confused like is it a self-custody wallet? Is it like, so like and as you say, I can't really speak to the specific features because I did have not tried it like you guys have. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think I get less excited about just like random things in crypto, and I'm much more like down to earth and practical.
Hmm.
And um in terms of like when you see what users are asking and going through, um I don't feel like anybody is saying, "Oh, it's once they're in crypto, they're like, "Oh, it's too hard to send crypto."
Yeah.
Like or it's, I think people are struggling with when they feel that the fees for onboarding are too high, like for
Hmm.
buying crypto, when the fees for transacting are too high, like on Ethereum, then that's why they use layer twos and uh or where the hell to get the money to get that crypto in the first place, which is a problem entirely separate from UX and just like a problem, with life that many of us on this planet and in the US are having currently. So yeah, so I think it's fun. Definitely like I props for the ballsy branding. I mean, this is like at first we were all of us like were kind of did they really mean to call it that? But they did because all of their like posts and marketing leans all the way into like crack being addictive and crack, like so
Yeah, they're
that's
doubling down.
definitely how it's intended to be used. And it's fun to think of contexts where like you want to pay with it and you're like, do you accept crack? Do you have crack? Like I'm gonna get my crack, all that. So that's fun and I respect for that. But yeah, I a lot of these apps like everything apps like payments slash crypto slash there's a card. A lot of platforms are trying to lean into that, and I guess we'll see who wins. It's fun to see, but personally for me, it's not solving any urgent problems right now.
Yeah, I also don't see it necessarily converting outside of crypto. Just because, it is a new name, it's a silly name, it's a degen name, and not as safe as the Venmo and PayPal's of the world.
Definitely not as marketable
No.
globally.
Well, yeah, and also you gotta be willing like Kayla is to try and convert people. And like I use Venmo and PayPal to make payments to like my daughter's trainers or like personal trainers or like parents of other kids, like things like that. And I'm not going to
Mhm.
be going around like, have you heard of this crack thing, like they're all on Venmo or whatever. So I'm not going to be doing that. So unless you're willing to evangelize like Kayla's, I think you're just going to keep on doing whatever Zelle and Venmo and PayPal as you've been doing.
I do also think it's very interesting from a branding perspective as we're talking about PayPal and Venmo, how there are these different like pockets of perception of users, despite the fact that PayPal owns Venmo. People don't
Mm,
usually know that. They're
True,
just like,
true.
mm-hmm.
oh, no, I use Venmo. PayPal's gross. That's for, the old millennials and Gen X or whatever. But
It's all the
maybe,
same shit.
yeah, it's all the same thing. And maybe Crack can attract the new children that have the attention span of TikTokers,
The Zoomers.
the Zoomers of it all. Maybe they will. But let's skip ahead a bit to more grown-up things. Let's talk about crypto being counted as a qualifying asset for mortgage evaluations, which is very boring when I say that. But for me, what it is indicative of is that crypto is kind of growing up as an asset class. Being able to use this to get a mortgage clearly shows a change in the tide towards, okay, this is a legitimate asset class. Let's let people buy homes.
Yeah, I think it's insane. um, but like in the
Say
best
more.
way, no, in the best way possible. The first thing that I thought of when I read this was The Big Short, the
Mhm.
movie, or that one scene in the movie where the guy is talking about like how he's like talking to the stripper and she has like four homes and they're all collateralized in like some
Mhm.
random assets and stuff. And I feel like that's what's gonna happen here. Like people are gonna show up to a realtor's place or whatever that place. I'm not in the market for homes, so I don't know what this place is called. But they're gonna talk to a realtor. They're gonna show the realtor their portfolio. Be like, look at all this fart coin I have, and put it down for a house. And yeah, it's gonna be tricky, and liquidations are gonna happen, and I don't know. It opens up a whole Pandora's box. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
So
It's
you think I do think I saw the articles being like you can now use fart coin as collateral. I don't
yeah.
think it's going to be that Wild West. I think it's going to be like, okay, you have some Bitcoin, you can absolutely, use that. I don't think they're just going to be like, whatever coin you want, I don't care.
I mean, not yet.
Not yet, true. But at the
No,
same time, you could like, artificially pump a coin using like a flash loan, immediately turn around, get a mortgage off that, and then you're like in for a
true,
world of hurt.
true. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I was gonna say you have to consider the volatility, right? Like it
Yeah.
could be, 100K of assets today and then, 50K of assets like 2 weeks later or sooner, depending on the asset. So, yeah, it's interesting. Like you could get a mortgage and then, I mean, it's your own business whether you can or can't pay a mortgage until it's everybody's business, like it was in 2008. So yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not done yet.
In January, I was calling realtors and just asking them if they accept crypto,
Oh,
Mhm.
just to
really?
like, yeah, just to like start breaking down that wall of that stigma of like realtors saying like we don't like crypto. I definitely like am not. I don't have that type of money yet, but I saw somebody.
But you're like, I'm
They
going to
were,
start planting the seeds.
yeah, no, dude. I saw milady people posting about it, how like they troll realtors and ask them if they accept crypto,
Mm.
Well,
and
it's
yeah,
one thing to accept it like in cash today, they convert it, cash out, done, but
Yeah.
like it's another sort of thing to say, I have this much assets and that means that I am,
Qualify for this level of loan and
capable of
mortgage.
paying off
Yeah.
my mortgage over the next 30 years,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think there I foresee this opening up a lot of like job opportunities in like the tech space meets kind of the realtor and mortgage industry because I do think there is a significant gap of knowledge in kind of the whole real estate realm when it comes to innovative tech, new technologies, and certainly crypto. So I see a lot of opportunity there that will be interesting to watch.
And you have to like home ownership is such a like hot third rail topic for America, especially right
Yeah.
now. Whenever you hear people mentioning certain generations or certain groups struggling, home ownership is one of the first things that is mentioned in terms of like being inaccessible to um certain groups of people. So it's a really important one. So if crypto can play in any way a role in facilitating that process for somebody, that's big in itself.
Yeah, I think it's great. And speaking of job opportunities, shifting gears, crypto native Nikita Beer, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correctly, reply guide his way to a head of product at X, and it seems like they're going to give him a job. And so we've kind of talked about crypto coming to Twitter X for a while now. Is this just like a words as wind kind of thing, or do we actually think that they're going to really move towards this stuff?
But didn't they already?
Yeah, they announced that they're gonna do the trading terminal thing
Yeah, they
before.
announced that, but announcements don't mean anything. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, I think they will honestly start heading towards the crypto integrations.
Hmm.
Because this guy Nikita, so first of all, he made a post in 2022 talking about like, hey, he was like shouting out Twitter like, hey guys, let me be the head of
Elon
head of
Musk. He
product.
specifically tagged Elon Musk and said,
Really?
make me VP of product," literally.
Yeah, and
Like,
then like 3 years later, he did it.
Yeah.
And then if you go back on his profile, like from at least 5 years ago, he's been talking about Bitcoin and all types of crypto stuff. So he's like, he's an actual crypto native. He's like doing stuff on chain, building things. He launched the thing on Solana like a few months ago. So yeah, to have somebody with that much interest in crypto who's actually in the crypto industry and building things and launching things, to have somebody like that now the head of product at Twitter, like I'm sure more crypto friendly things are gonna start happening now.
Here's the thing though. I was reading like his post that like when he announced it, like that he was made head of product. And I'm gonna quote, he says, "While I already spend every waking hour on this app, I'll now be spending that time helping others unlock that same value." What same value? Spending every waking hour on this app? That's literally the sentence. And I'm like, I don't want you to unlock that value for me. I am not interested in that value. Like,
Interesting.
so it's kind of like I this is I think this echoes back to kind of what we were talking about before Trump election and during Trump's election and after Trump's election. This guy is made head of product at X, which many people have been critical of the platform and of Elon Musk. And the first thing we go like, oh, he comes from crypto, yay. And I'm like, but
Yay.
what else is true about this man besides him coming from crypto? So
Yeah.
like when I read his post, I was like, okay, so this is a guy who thinks that X is everything, which I guess is, you know, the way it should be. If you're gonna put head of product, they should be completely in love with the product.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm not his customer. I don't want him to unlock the value of being on Twitter every single waking moment for me. So
Yeah. I also just like that I feel like tech and crypto are the only places where you can get a job on Twitter.
by tweeting.
Like, yeah, by tweeting at someone. There's a great story of like I think it was Uber employee number 4 tweeted, "Yo, make me a product manager," and the CEO of Uber is like, "Okay." And then he became employee number 4 and exited with $1 gazillion when they IPO'd.
Jeez.
And I feel like crypto is kind of one of the crypto Twitter is kind of one of those great equalizers as well. That access and responsiveness, for good or bad, whether or not they're calling me a prick on Twitter or actually responding with constructive feedback is really kind of nice to see and unique to our industry.
Yeah, I want to see him bring back NFT profile pictures. As no, straight up, just he just hear this one point. As kooky as it is, I feel like it would be so helpful with weeding out the fake like the fake DMs. You know, like people will put on a random NFT and DM you, and so
Mhm.
many people will fall for it because they're just like, oh, it's a crypto person. He has a NFT. But like, if we had the NFT badges again, like we could verify that, like, oh, this is a real NFT holder who spent like $10,000 on this NFT. So
But essentially, what you're saying is wallet verification for Twitter. So you don't even have to have an NFT. If you integrated a process of verifying with a wallet, then
yeah, I guess.
Hmm. I don't hate that. Like, as soon as you pitch that, that would make weeding through all of these like AI women photos in
No,
my
exactly.
DMs
Like
a lot faster.
I wasn't a huge fan of it either until I read that point. I was like, wait, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, okay. I'm here for it now. But you know what else I'm here for is RWA summer. Real world asset summer is probably kicking off in full blown seas. So, over the last like week, we've seen a bunch of different announcements from Kraken, from a bunch of different exchanges that are going to be offering tokenized stocks. Um, they did that over the weekend in advance of Robinhood's like big announcement where they announced the same thing, and Robinhood just got all the press for it. Everyone else rolled out a tweet that was like, "We're bringing stocks on chain," and Robinhood's like, "We're gonna put up a $100,000 keynote in the French Riviera and just be like, we're doing tokenized stocks. We're doing crypto cash back on our credit card. We're also going to be airdropping a bunch of European new customers because we got licenses to operate in 45 different countries in the EU. And we're airdropping all new customers OpenAI and SpaceX tokenized stock." Um, And so I do think that, we're going to see a lot of rumblings, a lot of like productization towards this tokenized stock and real world assets, which is interesting to me. I do have a nice intersection of a love of crypto and stocks. So this kind of like pushes all my buttons. But talk to me, guys, about, all of these announcements from everyone and real world asset summer.
I just wanted to point out, like you said, the French Riviera and the presentation. When you sent me the link and I opened it, the first thing I was like, are these jerk-offs really doing a presentation at a pool at this villa, on the French? And yes, they are. And then the editor of the Defiant newsletter wrote up a piece after she was there, and it was literally like, and then Vlad, what was it? It's Vlad, right?
Vlad, yeah.
Vlad Tenev, yeah, walks out in a white suit with his black hair flowing behind him. I'm quoting. So it works,
They're like, we're doing a crypto conference, make him look like a scammer.
Oh my God.
Looked like a Bond villain.
If this guy approached you at the French Riviera or approached me and was like, I'm going to tell you some exciting news about crypto, I'd be like, just go before I call the police,
Go.
But no, yeah, I mean, like, you gotta give props for great presentation. This is true. But for me, the most exciting thing about this, the truly, unironically exciting thing, is what Robinhood only mentioned a little bit toward the end, that eventually it is their goal to let people move these tokenized stocks to other wallets, that it doesn't have to be on the platform. And I don't know enough about Kraken's and Gemini's and other tokenization initiatives, whether they already offer that or it's going to be a goal. But to me, so self-custody has just been a thing for crypto, right? Like you can self-custody cash in your mattress, but that's not quite what we're talking about here. But for digital assets, like self-custody could only apply to crypto, right? But now the idea that you could self-custody traditional stock via tokenization, but still, and even self-custody if we're talking about RWAs, like government bonds and things like that. That to me is a truly kind of interesting and big deal, something that changes the way traditional finance works. I don't know if you guys agree, but that's
100%.
what I took that out of that.
100% agree. Like, this is a new age for as far as self-custodying stocks, like you said. This is kind of like two topics in one. So the X stocks thing allows for on-chain equities. This is like real tokenized stocks that you can buy with a self-custody wallet. I think right now it's like mostly on Solana. But yeah, so that happened. We can like trade real equities on chain now. And then Robinhood took that and like made it like 10% of their announcement. They're like, yeah, we got that, and we're doing this, and we're doing an L2, and we're doing like Robinhood just like blew everybody out of the water. So yeah, it's like I think the biggest news crypto has heard in years. I feel like we used to dream of times like this. At least when I entered like 5 years ago. And yeah, now it's 2025. We have a Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETF, Solana ETF on the way. Coinbase is a public company. Circle is a public company. Robinhood is neck deep now. So yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see all the progress happening.
So what other RWAs, let's just speculate here, do you guys think people are going to put on chain? Anything? And I'm springing this on you without like prep, so don't feel bad if you don't have a good answer.
Dude.
Well, I mean, real estate tokenization is a big one, right? Being able to invest in real estate with $50, and so that's something that couldn't exist before tokenization. So that's a big one, I think.
This is something that I've heard you bring up before, Vince, but I feel like medical records, like there's going to be some lane for that where, I mean, obviously that's not going to be like traded in the public. Like I can't just like trade.
You could
I want
medical
Vince's
records.
heart rate data.
Yeah,
No,
exactly. But like,
but
let me see Vince's blood pressure. Oh
It will.
God.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but you could though, because like if they're
Just have it as an
they're
NFT.
buyers for like research data,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
there
no,
could
that's
be
what I'm saying.
buyers
Like
for, yeah, like you
there
could
will there
sell,
will be
yeah.
value in that type of RWA, but obviously that's not like the same thing as like a stock on chain. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of value in the medical field when we bring that on chain. Also, side note with this Robinhood thing, I saw lots of people on Twitter complaining because they wanted the Robinhood announcement, the Robinhood chain L2 thing to be built on Solana or Bitcoin.
Mhm.
And all the Solana and Bitcoin maxis are mad that the L2 is an Arbitrum L2 or it's an Arbitrum based L2. So it's
Yeah.
it's built on
But
Does that
isn't
make
that
it
Ethereum.
an
only
L3?
but
I don't
isn't it
know,
only
dude. It's too complicated.
until, I thought they said it's only until they like make it their own. They said Arbitrum for now.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I didn't like read too much about it. I
Because
just saw people complaining on Twitter, to be honest.
yeah,
But it
I got
sounds
the
like they're building
impression
on
that they're
Ethereum.
building, yeah, they're building
Yeah,
their
so
own, but
so they don't have their L2 out right now. So if you buy a tokenized stock right now, it's on Arbitrum. Then they will be
mhm.
shifting to Robinhood
Hmm.
chain.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's kind of what everyone's pissy about is they're like, well, I guess super chain is easy to build on, so it makes sense to me, even though it's not everyone's favorite. But at least it's not Solana, because I'm kind of over that nonsense.
Straight up, dude, just randomly shuts down on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Not fun.
The thing that I'm super interested in, and Robinhood kind of hit on it, is private equity. The ability for companies to not only raise, but for retail investors to invest in tokenized stock of private equity companies is interesting to me. That way, it's not just like the ICO boom of it all, where you had to only invest crypto in crypto, and I was a bit of a circle jerk. This could give a lot of new startups access to funding and retail investors access to be able to invest in those in meaningful ways. So
This is a super random tangent, but
hit me.
did you guys know, like I didn't know, for instance, that crowdfunding existed as early as 18th century?
I did not.
What?
So
No,
yeah,
I didn't.
so I went to so it's Jane Austen's 250th birth year anniversary this year. So there are a lot of exhibits going on, and I, like most women my age, am a Jane Austen fan. But I went to this exhibit, and there was a book there that, not her book, but a different author's book. And they had it open to like a few of the beginning pages, and it was a list of names, and hers was one of the names. And the plaque was explaining that you could uh, invest into a book. Like you knew that an author was writing a book, and you subscribed to the future book. And if
Hmm.
you paid, then the book would be published using those funds. And then the author publishes every name that subscribed to the final novel in the beginning of the book. And it was crowdfunding for a book. And I had no idea that
Interesting.
this existed. And I thought
Streamers
that
do
was
that.
really fun.
Streamers do that. They'll be like, "Oh, send me money, and I'll list your name at the end of my next video."
I mean, you gotta kickstart that venture somehow. But no,
That's
I
cool.
had no idea it went that far back because I remember Indiegogo and Kickstarter being like so innovative.
Yeah. But it's kind of fun for me to think that you know all these things that it's a spiral, right? Like history is a spiral, and
Yeah.
all these things. You add technology, you add new technology, but the ideas of financial transactions and financial tools kind of repeat and are kind of the same. And I always find it extremely entertaining that writing itself was only invented to count things, to count credit and to count like storage, etc.
That's
So,
Yeah,
crazy. I didn't even know that.
yep. And it's
That's
funny
super cool.
because, history never changes, humans never change. But you know what does change? The topics on this podcast. Because we've come to the end here, so we'll have to see what things change to next week. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening to this. Find all of our Twitters in the description below, and we will see you next week.